In 2025, video editing is not just about cutting clips, it's about creating impact. I spend hours searching for the most captivating editing styles. I found that UI-based animations and Iman Gadzhi dynamic techniques are the most powerful, attention-grabbing techniques right now. Over the next 70 minutes, I will show you exactly how to edit high-quality animation that combines both styles. We will also explore special effects and other techniques that will take you from beginner to professional editor. Now that I've said that, let's dive straight into it. First, create a new composition with a resolution of 1080 by 9020. Drag the initial assets into the composition and scale the background so it clearly fills the screen. Now create a mask for each object separately and set the anchor point of each object to the center. Create a rectangle that covers all the icons and enable the fill option. Set the roundness to 250 and move the layers below the icons. Duplicate the shape layer. On the bottom of the shape layer, disable the visibility. On the top shape layer, add a bevel and emboss. Set the fill opacity to 0% and change the size under the bevel and emboss to 2. Set the shadow mode to normal, slightly lower the shadow opacity and add a drop shadow effect. Set its size to 15 and opacity to 30%. Add adjustment layer between the two shapes layers. Connect its track mate to the shape layer. Apply its 4-color gradient and place the 4-point at the corner of the rectangle. Change the color of the first point to a greenish purple. Use the color picker, copy the color to the other points. Adjust each point to either a lighter or darker shade. Increase the blend to 200 and lower the opacity to 40%. Add a Gaussian blur and set the blurriness to 180. Also add a CC light sweep. Place the center in the middle of the rectangle and set the duration to -66 degrees. Lower the sweep intensity to 15 and increase the width to 150. Reduce the edge intensity to 75. Pre-compose all icons. Parent the adjustment layer and the shape layer to the bottom shape layer. Scale up the shape layer and arrange the icons accordingly. Inside the composition, add the entrance animation to all layers using position. Open the graph editor and create a fast in motion. Also, add the entrance animation using opacity. Back inside the composition, animate the rectangle scale for an entrance animation. Use the graph editor to create a fast in motion and also add an opacity entrance animation. Parent the icon's composition to the rectangle and move it slightly downward. Drag in the mouth file, move the layer forward by half second and scale it down to 10%. Mark and position the mouth over the calendar. Create a scale keyframe at 1 second. Add another keyframe, placing the mouth outside the visibility area. Use the pen tool to create a keyframe in the middle of the path and stretch it slightly to create a smooth motion. In the graph editor, unify the two graphs into single smooth movement. At the end of the mouth movement, add a scale keyframe. Move slightly forward and change the scale to 4%. Then move forward again and reduce the scale to 10%. Go into the icon comp and add the two scale keyframes, one at the moment of the mouse click and another shortly after, scale up to 110%. In the graph editor, make a sharp motion to match the click action. This creates a click animation on the icon. Drag the calendar assets into the main comp and pre-compose them. Inside the calendar comp, scale all layers down to 70%. Apply tint effect to the calendar layer, then use swap colors. Add a glow effect and increase the glow radius to around 240. Apply glow to the 3 dots layer as well and set its glow radius to 160. Add another glow on the layer above and set its glow radius to 75. Finally, on the top layer, add a glow, set the glow threshold to 90% and the glow radius to 100. In the main comp, move the calendar layer slightly forward on the timeline. Create a scale keyframe at 82%, 1 second forward, then create another keyframe at the start of the layer at 0%. Animate the position for the entrance, place the first keyframe, create another keyframe over the calendar icon and use the graph editor to create a fast in motion. Back in the calendar comp, on the bottom layer, increase the glow treasure to 80%. and reduce the glow radius to 110. In the main comp, make both calendar comp and cursor 3D layer, create a one node camera, and add a keyframe at the start of the calendar layer. Move forward 2 seconds and add another keyframe, changing the Z position to around -1230. Use the graph editor to create a sharp zoom in motion. In the cursor, we will change the click start and end to 8, and cause an issue with the 3D, we will remove it. Move it to the top, then move slightly forward and add a position keyframe. Move it forward again and reposition the cursor over the glowing text. Add a keyframe in the middle of the path and stretch it slightly for a smooth movement. In the graph editor, link both graphs for a unified and fluid motion. Add a scale keyframe, move slightly forward and set the scale to 4%. Duplicate the first keyframe and paste it shortly after the second one. Back in the calendar comp, on the second layer, add a keyframe for glow treasure and glow intensity. Check when the cursor returns to 8% scale, and set the keyframes one more time for glow treasure and glow intensity. Go back to the last keyframe and set the glow treasure to 100% and glow intensity to 0. Create a new rectangle shape and draw a small triangle inside it. Move it slightly downward and set the roundness to 30. Duplicate the shape layer and turn off the visibility of the lower one. On the top shape layer, add a bevel and emboss, and in advanced gliding, set the fill to 0% and set the size to 2. Set the shadow mode to normal. Add a drop shadow effect, increase the size to 15 and reduce the opacity to 35%. Create an adjustment layer, move it one layer down and set its rack main to hidden shape layer. Apply the 4 color gradient effect, placing each point in a different corner of the rectangle. Set all points to gray, then slightly darken or brighten some of them to create a version. Change the blending mode to lighten and reduce the opacity to 30%. Add a Gaussian blur and set the blurriness to 30 to create a glass effect. Also add a CC light sweep, place the center in the middle, reduce the sweep intensity to 10 and set the edge thickness to 2. Finally, trim the 4 seconds from the last 3 layers. Parent the shape layer and the adjustment layer to the bottom shape layer. Create a scale keyframe at the start of the layer and set it to 0%. Then, 1 second later, create another keyframe at 100%. Enter the graph editor and create a sharp, easy-in animation. For the cursor, create the opacity keyframe and quarter seconds later, set the opacity to 0%. Right after that, trim the unnecessary part of the layer and make both shape layer 3D. Add a text layer and write important meeting and position it in the top right corner of the rectangle. Create a rectangle shape, remove the stroke, enable the fill and set it to light gray. Set the opacity of the shape to 50% and change the roundness to 5. Position the rectangle in the top left corner opposite to the text. Duplicate the rectangle layer, change its color to purple, disable the constraint properties and shrink the size to create a square that 1/3 the size of the original rectangle. Position it in the top right corner of the gray rectangle. Create a black arrow using the pen tool and set the stroke to 1.5. Position it next to the rectangle. Center its anchor point and duplicate it. Rotate the duplicate to 180 degrees and move it upward to align with the first arrow. Duplicate the text layer, move the duplicate to the top, change the text to Google Meeting link and position it below the other elements. Add a camera icon, scale it down to 5% and place it right below the link. Duplicate the text layer again, move it to the top, change the text to Meeting Google Chrome and place it next to the camera icon. Duplicate the rectangle layer, move it above the layers, slightly extend its wire and align it to the left of the Meeting Google Chrome text. Duplicate the text layer, move it to the top, change the text to join and center it inside the rectangle. Duplicate the arrow layer again, move it up, place the arrow next to the Meeting Google Chrome text and change its stroke to 2. Duplicate the text one last time, move the layer to the top, change the text to 70 Joule 2025 4.5 to 6.5 and place it to the right between the other elements. Using the pen tool, draw a straight line, set the stroke to 1.5, reduce the opacity to 70% and place it above the join rectangle. Duplicate the layer and move the line to be below the join rectangle. Pre-compose all layers inside the message box. Enter the pre-compose, add a white solid and move it between all layers so we can see all the black layers clearly. Create a position keyframe at 5 seconds, then move 1 second back and lower the layer slightly. Enter the graph editor and create a sharp easy in. Add an opacity entrance animation and delete any part of the layer before the 4 seconds mark. Separate the entrance timing of all the layers to create a non-uniform entrance. Delete the white solid layer that was added since we no longer needed it. In the main composition, remove any pre-composed part before the 4 seconds mark. For the shape layer, add an opacity entrance animation and make the pre-composed 3D. Raise the camera layer, create an entrance animation via position and set the last keyframe to align with the box. Back in the main composition, duplicate the cursor layer and move it below the camera layer. Position the start of the cursor layer to align with the end of the camera animation and delete all the keyframes. At the beginning of the layer, create a position keyframe and place the cursor where it's previously stopped. Move forward half a second and position the cursor over the join button. Use the pen tool to make a point halfway and stretch it slightly to create a smooth motion. Enter the graph editor and adjust both created graphs into a single smooth curve. At the last position keyframe, create a scale keyframe, move a few steps ahead, reduce the scale to 4% and after a few more steps, return the scale to 8%. On the middle keyframe, enter the pre-compose, add a tint to the rectangle inside the pre-compose using the color picker. Change both color to match the same gray as the rectangle. In the main pre-compose, go to the last scale keyframe and inside the pre-compose, change the color of the map width 2 to red. Create a keyframe for a map width 2. This makes the rectangle turn red when the curves click on it. Create a keyframe for opacity and at the map width 2 keyframe, change the opacity to 100%. Drag the Google Meeting files into the main pre-compose them, and place the layer to start at the end of the cursor click. Inside the pre-compose, reduce the scale of all layers to 77%. For the icon layers, create a mask around each icon, duplicate the layer, delete the mask on the duplicated layer, create a new mask for the next icon, and continue this process for all the other icons. This way, each icon will have its own layer. Create a mask around the top rectangle. Now you can center the anchor point of each layer individually. Select all the bottom layers and apply a position-based entrance animation. In the graph editor, create a sharp easy in. Also, add opacity-based entrance animation and offset the layer start times so each one begins slightly after the previous. This way the entrance won't be uniform. Add a scale-based entrance animation to the top rectangle, go into the graph editor and create a sharp easy in. Drag the top rectangle's layer to start half second after the first icon, then move all layers except the first one forward by 1 second. Create a rectangle that covers half the screen, set its roundness to 40 and duplicate it. Move the duplicated rectangle to the right side, add a gradient ramp to the first rectangle, change it to radial ramp, place the start of the ramp in the center of the rectangle and position the end of the ramp at one of the edges. Change the start color to dark red and the end color to black red. Add a gradient ramp to the second rectangle, change it to radial ramp, place the start of the ramp in the center of the rectangle and position the end of the ramp at one of the edges. Set the start color to dark green and the end color to black green. Create a circle and place it in the top of the rectangle. Add a gradient ramp, change it to radial ramp, position the start of the ramp in the center of the circle and the end of the ramp a little outside the circle. Change the start color to black red and the end color to dark red. Duplicate the layer, delete the gradient ramp and add a new one. As before, position the start ramp in the center of the rectangle and place the end of the ramp a little outside the circle. Change it to radial ramp, adjust the end color to red-white. Move the end of the ramp a bit further out and set the layer to screen mode. Create a large circle and position it between the previous one. apply a mask to cut out the center, add a gradient ramp effect, set the start of the ramp above the circle and the end of the ramp at the center. Then click swap colors. Change the start color to dark red and lower the end of the ramp slightly. Duplicate the layer, change the duplicate start color to skin tone, raise the end of the ramp slightly, raise the start of the ramp significantly and set the layer blind mode to screen. Using the pen tool, draw an eye shape in red-white. Duplicate the layer and move the duplicated eye to the right. Now a character has been created. Duplicate all the layers that make up the character, move them to the right to align with the second rectangle and pre-compose them. Pre-compose the layers of the second character as well. Inside the pre-comp of the duplicate character, change the character's color to green. On the first layer, change the end color to dark green and the start color to black green. Center the start of the ramp in the middle of the circle and set the end of the ramp slightly outside the circle. On the second layer, change the end color to whitish green. Center the start of the ramp in the circle and place the end of the ramp outside the circle. On the third layer, change the start color to white green and the end color to black green. Place the start of the ramp at the top of the head and the end of the ramp at the center of the circle. Finally, change the eye color to white green. Go to the comp of the red person. In the scale, create a keyframe, move a bit backward and create another one at 0%. In the graph, create a fast entrance and copy all the keyframes to the second eye as well. Return to the green person and copy the keyframes at his eyes as well to animate eye opening. Move the comp of the meeting, duplicate the red person window, reduce the fill to 0, change it to stroke and add a glow. Set the glow treasure to 70. Create a text layer and write Mr. Editor. Position the text in the left corner of the red person and scale it to 70%. Duplicate the text and change it to client. Move it so that it aligns with the window of the green person. Create a rectangle that will cover the text. Move it 2 layers down and increase the roundness to 10. Duplicate the rectangle, move it 1 layer up and shift it to the right so it's behind the client text. Slightly reduce the size of the rectangles, then pre-compose each rectangle with the text above it. Create a keyframes for all characters and their text layers using position. Move back a few frames and shift them slightly downward. In the graph editor, create a sharp easy in motion. Also, create the opacity keyframes. Move back a bit, set the opacity to 0%. For the windows, create a scale keyframes, uncheck constraint properties, move back a few frames and scale them down to 0%. In the graph editor, apply a fast easy in. Move all character and window layers backward in time, return to the main comp, to Google Meet pre-comp, create a scale keyframe at 0%, move forward slightly, then set another keyframe at 100%, use the graph editor to create a fast easy in. For position, create a keyframe, move back slightly and set another keyframe so the window animation is from that direction. Again, apply a fast easy in a graph editor. In the comp of the rect character, add a glow to the left eye and set the glow radius to 110. Copy the glow effects to the second eye. Move to the green character and add a glow to both of its eyes as well. In the comp of meeting, apply the glow to all the bottom except the two on the right. Add a glow to the bottom, set the glow treasure to 90% and glow radius to 165. Move to the icons on the right, add a glow and increase the glow treasure to 80% and the glow radius to 100. Copy the glow to the icons next to it. Return to the 3 dots bottom, add a glow, set the glow treasure to 37% and set the glow radius to 145. In the main comp, add a glow to the tab and set the glow treasure to 40% and the glow radius to 430. Inside the comp of the tab, add a glow to the elements and adjust the setting until it fits well. Go to the comp of the icons from the beginning, add a glow to the first layer with a glow treasure of 90% and the glow radius of 125. Copy the glow to the rest of the icons. Finally, create a blinking animation for the characters. Create a keyframe for a scale and a few frames later set it to 0%. After a few frames, return the scale to 100%. Copy the keyframes to the second eye and also to the eyes of the green character. Shorten the composition duration to 10 seconds. Now that you are finished the animation, let's give it one last look. In my opinion, mastering those kind of animations put you in a really high level of editing. Right now, about 20% of you are still watching, and if you are still here, thanks for staying with me until the end. It really means a lot. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you want to see next. I will see you in the next video.